despite Nick Nurse getting ejected and the Raptors being down 95-85 at one point. Norman Powell, Pascal Siakam, and Fred VanVleet combined for over 90 points in this game as the Raptors rally late on to get the win over the Memphis Grizzlies. So let's analyze what went into this Raptors victory. Let's get into it. Welcome to the Raptors Round, a segment where we round up the Raptors game from the night before on Amateur Sports, the channel where you get NBA content with a focus on the Toronto Raptors. So if you like what you see from today's video and you want more of myself talking about the Raptors in videos just like this, make sure you hit that subscribe button down below. Show your support to the channel. We also do a lot of live streams. We do live stream watch alongs for these Raptors games, like the one we did last night for the game against the Memphis Grizzlies. Check out all the great content you missed out on by not being at the stream.
We gotta do it. He's cooking. He's cooking with spices. I gotta be prepared. Siakam's cooking, boys.
Wow, some fantastic content that you missed out on by not being at the stream. But let's get into our Raptors roundup. So what we're going to do, we're going to give you a brief overview of the game, take you through a synopsis of proceedings, and then leave you with 3 key takeaways from the game that you can move on with for the future. So for starters, the Raptors are still without OG Anunoby in this one, and we missed his presence against the Atlanta Hawks just 2 nights prior to this game, where the Raptors really struggled to close out on the Hawks and let the Hawks shoot 52% from 3 over the course of the game. So the Raptors, who got their day off, the Hawks game was a back-to-back, so they were tired, they were fatigued, but this one, they had a night off. We really needed to showcase our effort because this Memphis team loves to play quick. They move the ball quick, they push the ball in transition, and they rack up a lot of steals. They're first in the NBA when it comes to steals. So the Raptors needed that effort for this one. So let's get into our synopsis of the game now. So in the first quarter, the Raptors come out of the gates quick and they rack up 3 steals on this Memphis team very early on. Norman Powell, who is always fantastic in first quarters, has another one here. He was great. In fact, he came into this game shooting 62% from the field in the first quarter. I always feel like he puts up 10 points in the first quarter and then he kind of spreads out the offense over the rest of the game. But you can always rely on Norm to really get us going out of the gate, get us started, build some momentum, and hopefully keep that going. And Norm, I believe that when everybody's healthy, really needs to be starting. I mean, how can you argue with the statistics here? 62% from the field, and I think he upgraded that stat as well over the course of this game and in this game's first quarter. How could you not start that? How can you not put that in your starting lineup? Something for Nick Nurse to consider. But as time wears on in the first quarter, the game slowly evens out. Memphis really start knocking down their threes, and JV on the inside, the former Raptor Jonas Valanciunas, is a problem. His size and just the way he's developed his game since being traded away from the Raptors is a problem for the Raptors because we really don't have anybody who can match him in the paint. Aaron Baines kind of struggles again on the glass, and JV is just going to town, getting Memphis right in this game, and all of a sudden it's an even game again. With Norm already playing well, Siakam and Fred VanVleet are also playing quite well, and that is going to be a theme for the rest of this game. But the Raptors, they're doing well on offense. It's just a defense that is struggling. They're allowing way too many points. I think at the end of the first quarter, it was 35-34. So the Raptors' offense is great, but the defense just needs a little bit of work. And if they can lock up some sort of defense here, they should be able to cruise to a victory here. However, they couldn't quite manage that in the second quarter. And in this first quarter as well, Kyle Lowry had back spasms, was supposed to go to the locker room just to stretch it out and get back in the game, but actually missed the rest of the game. So the Raptors had to fight through this adversity without Kyle Lowry. But Kyle Lowry, in the last 13 games that he's been completely absent, the Raptors are 13-0. So without Kyle Lowry, hopefully the Raptors can still take over this game in the second quarter. So in the second quarter, we heard that the Memphis Grizzlies actually average 43 bench points per game. So we're going to need a large performance from our bench in this one. And Boucher came off the bench and kind of struggled early on. Maybe picked it up later in the game, but at this point in the game, in the second quarter, was missing some shots, was kind of struggling to collect some passes under the rim, maybe struggling to get some rebounds, not as dominant as he was against the Atlanta Hawks. And he's not going to produce like that every game, but Boucher was missing some of his gimmies at the rim, and it was a little bit frustrating, but the Raptors were still managing a little bit on offense, but then that offense started to chill up a little bit. It got a little bit cold, and Memphis took advantage. John Morant was playing well, and JV was just an absolute monster under the rim in the first half. Ended up finishing the first half with 18 points and 14 rebounds. Yes, that is the end of the first half. That's not a full game stat line. Memphis continued to hit threes at a crazy clip. And then after some questionable calls in quick succession by the referees, Nick Nurse was, yelling as he usually does, and the referees gave him a tech. That is going to be very important for later. And as our offense goes cold, Memphis's offense continues to roll. Our defense doesn't really have an answer for JV. John Morant is also playing quite well. And the Raptors find themselves in a little bit of a hole as the Memphis Grizzlies close out this second quarter quite well and have themselves a 7-point lead going to the break. And the Raptors, who pride themselves on their defense, have allowed 70 points to the Memphis Grizzlies, who are bottom 10 in points per game in the league. So the Raptors have a lot of work to do. But at least we can find solace in the fact that if the Raptors just start playing some defense, they lock up, their offense will be talented enough to take over this game. Now we'll move on to the third quarter, where I was hoping the halftime team talk would spur some momentum, some effort, light the spark for the Raptors, but again, that didn't happen. Memphis come out hot in this third quarter and pull out to an even greater advantage. And the Raptors continue to struggle guarding JV, continue to struggle really guarding anybody on the Memphis Grizzlies for that matter. Our Memphis Grizzlies team who does have a few injuries, and the Raptors should really be the favorites here in winning this game. But at this point in the game, we're getting to midway through the third quarter, even though despite some good performances from Siakam, Norm, and Fred, and Boucher maybe starting to chip in a little bit, despite our great offensive performance, we just cannot stop Memphis from scoring. Memphis continued to roll, and honestly, with the defense, the way it's being played, I can't see the Raptors winning this game at this point. But then, all of a sudden, a bad call happened. What do you know? It's against the Raptors. But a bad call happened. And during a timeout, Nick Nurse gets his second technical of the game. That is why the first one was so important. Nick Nurse gets ejected from the game, and all of a sudden, Adrian Griffin has to step in as head coach, with the Raptors down 94-85. Now, after the timeout, the Grizzlies made the score 95-85 on the free throw that resulted from the technical. And this is where the Raptors absolutely come alive. I don't know what it was, but Nick Nurse getting ejected really sparked this Raptors team, just lit that fire under them, and the Raptors just all of a sudden came to play here. The defense, the effort was just completely different. It was a complete 180, and it wasn't just the offense going down. The offense continued to be exactly what it was earlier on in the game, but the defense, people were running in transition, people were boxing out for rebounds, fighting amongst the bigger guys for rebounds. And it also helped that Memphis did not have Jonas Valanciunas or John Morant on the floor for an extended period of time. So the Raptors seized that opportunity and clawed themselves right back into this game. Despite being down 95-85, they went all the way to the end of the third quarter at 97 for the Grizzlies to 94 for the Raptors. And all of a sudden, it's a close game yet again. At the start of the fourth quarter, Jonas Valanciunas and John Morant are still off the floor. So the Raptors need to keep rolling with this momentum, and that is exactly what they do. Siakam and Fred VanVleet go absolutely off in this fourth quarter, hitting a ton of big shots, and Norman Powell as well. Not on the consistent basis like Siakam in the fourth quarter, but when we needed the big shot, Norman Powell, damn right, Norman Powell was hitting those big shots here. We eventually have to score at 113-100 for the Raptors. So, with like 5 minutes left in the third quarter, the Grizzlies had 95 points. And at this point, we're already like a few minutes into the fourth quarter. They only have 100. So you can see how much the defense has come alive and what an insane run the Raptors have put themselves on. But up 13, JV comes back in the game. And because of him, the Memphis Grizzlies get a quick 6 points on the inside. And now I'm scared. Now I'm worried about the momentum from the Grizzlies to get right back in this game. But right as that happens, right as they see JV dominating on the interior, the effort grows even more than I could imagine, because every single shot that went up for the Memphis Grizzlies, you saw 4 or maybe even 5 Toronto Raptors players go for that rebound, jump up, try to tip it away from Jonas Valanciunas, because, Aaron Baines didn't have a great game. He was on the floor. Chris Boucher is not really big enough to contest Jonas Valanciunas on the glass. But when there's 4 people on the Raptors helping him out, the Raptors earned a ton of stops and earned a ton of defensive rebounds to solidify this advantage. And the offense never slowed down. It continued to roll even in some clutch periods. Fred, Siakam, Boucher even came alive in the fourth quarter, and Norman Powell all chipped in to help see the Raptors and push them over the line in this one. Pascal Siakam drops a 30 bomb. Fred VanVleet drops a 30 bomb. And Norman Powell, so close, 29 points. That trio, that 3-headed monster, combines for over 90 points and helps get the Raptors into and in the end, a pretty comfortable advantage. And the Memphis Grizzlies only scored 113 points. So with 97 at the end of the third, the Raptors, the defense just comes alive and holds them to a 16-point fourth quarter. The Raptors offense was spectacular in that quarter, getting shots to fall at will and get the win, a much needed win to put them at 11-13. Let's get ourselves closer to that 500 mark. We play the Washington Wizards on Wednesday. You got to feel like the Raptors are going to win that one. You got to feel confident after this game, especially with a night off. I'm feeling good. Hopefully they come to play for that. Now let's move into our 3 takeaways for the game. The first key takeaway is the Raptors' effort and why it wasn't there for the first 2.5 quarters of this game until Nick Nurse got ejected. It was fantastic. I can appreciate that for the end of the third quarter and for the fourth quarter, it was utterly fantastic. But I need to see that on a more consistent basis. You can't just turn it on, on and off like that. It's got to be there for the 48-minute period. But I mean, obviously the Raptors won, but maybe against a better team that wouldn't have happened, and that late little rally wouldn't have quite been enough. Now, before you all jump on Nick Nurse getting ejected and say the Raptors only won because Nick Nurse wasn't coaching and Nick Nurse is an awful coach, Agent Griffith should be the head coach. Yeah, I don't want to hear any of that, okay? This is a very small sample size that we're seeing of Nick Nurse not coaching, and maybe that just gave them a little bit of, a spark, a little bit of desire to go win this game because, that fueled their rage and anger towards the game. So let's go out and just take over this game. So I don't want to hear anything about Nick Nurse, but it was definitely not Nick Nurse getting ejected that won the Raptors this game. I mean, in terms of him getting ejected and giving them effort, giving them that spark, sure, but don't put it on Nick Nurse's coaching at all. Second key takeaway is the defensive consistency and the lack thereof, because the Raptors against the Hawks did not have great defense, did not have a lot of effort, did not rotate well, did not move in transition on defense, and for the first 2.5 quarters, that remained the same. But again, against better teams than the Hawks and the Grizzlies, you are going to get punished, and with the Celtics coming up on Thursday night, you are definitely going to get punished for not running in transition. So again, 48-minute game, you gotta consistently have that defense there. The Raptors are a defensive team. They are known for being that defensive team, that menace on defense that you don't want to play. It just needs to be there a little bit more often right now. Third key takeaway is that in the last week or so, the Raptors have finally started to hit those big shots late on. We can rely on Siakam, Norman Powell, and Fred VanVleet to, start to hit some shots, maybe lesser some Fred VanVleet, but more so Siakam, more so Norman Powell to hit those big dagger shots late on in games. We were missing Kyle Lowry for much of this one due to some back spasms, but the Raptors, late on, they got the big shots to fall and help see themselves through to a good advantage. So that wraps it up for me for today. Thank you so much for watching. Let me know all of your thoughts and opinions on this game in the comments down below. Did you agree with my opinions? Did you disagree with my opinions? Let me hear it. But that wraps it up for me. Thank you so much for watching. If you're still here, please like the video if you like, and subscribe to Amateur Sports for more content just like this. We got the videos. We got videos for today and the next 4 days in a row, as well as live watch-alongs for the Raptors games. We got the Wizards on Wednesday. We will be live streaming tomorrow night, and we will be live streaming Thursday night for the game against the Boston Celtics. We had a lot of fun in the stream yesterday. I implore you to be at the streams for a lot of fun during those Raptors games. But at the end of the day, I believe what I say. If you disagree, that is okay. We'll see you again next time for another video.